through a ghost town. Y'all ain't playing my sounds. Don't tell me to calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. You ain't lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no base, never on the right page, but we still read that book, and we still run that race. Ay. Mississippi racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi racer riding out till the wheels fall off. I'm driving that. Mississippi racer riding out, we'll stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi racer riding out, red light, green light, red light, good night. Ay. Red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 Time to chill, don't sweat it.
Good morning and welcome. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show, powered by Wire to Wire Network. Thank you so much for making us part of your morning routine. I'm Chris, and that over there, that is Mo. Mo, happy Tuesday, sir.
Happy Tuesday, partner, and everybody out there joining us.
So, Mo, there was a football game on last night. Check that bad boy out.
I did.
So, it's interesting because, let's be honest, I am not a Nick Sirianni guy. You know, you got those Paul Heyman guys running around out there in the world. I am not a Nick Sirianni guy. But, Mo, I'm also not going to sit here and kill Nick Sirianni this morning for that play call at the end of the game. Now, the smart thing to do when you have a running back like Saquon Barkley and a decent offensive line like the Philadelphia Eagles, in my opinion, the smart thing to do would have been to run the football. They're out of timeouts. You run the ball. They're going to get the ball back, but you're going to take so much time off of that clock between running down the clock, the punt, the whole 9 yards. Man, they're not going to have time. They're not going to have time to do anything crazy on the other end. They decide not to run the ball, Mo. They decide to pass it on third down. But it was a beautifully called play where Saquon Barkley was wide open, and he just didn't catch the football. And sometimes I think NFL fans confuse the call with the outcome. And those are not always the same thing. The call worked. The call schemed a wide open Saquon Barkley that would have sealed the game had he just caught the football. That's not on Nick Sirianni. That's not on Kellen Moore. That's on Saquon Barkley. Saquon did not execute the play call. Everything on that play worked the way it was designed to work. It was there. It was open. He was by himself. Game over if he pulls in the ball. But he didn't. Mo, it would be no different if they ran the football and Saquon fumbled it. That's not in Nick Sirianni's control either. No different. You have to execute the play. They did, except for Saquon dropping the football. So, Mo, I'm not going to sit here this morning and I'm not going to listen to people slander Nick Sirianni for that. Because there's so many other things we can slander Nick Sirianni for.
Right.
Like, there's no need to slander him for that. That was fine. Had they just caught the football, we're good. So let's start there, Mo. Poo-poo on Saquon for not catching the damn ball.
And I thought it was a great call. Look, I love that Saquon was the first to take accountability. Like he said, he dropped it. 9 times out of 10, he catches that football. It didn't happen. So the circumstances changed. That said,
now that the game wasn't over at that point, by the way.
Right. The game didn't end. That look, he should have caught the football. No, I don't think nobody disagrees with that. But the Eagles defense didn't have to look like butter on the other end either. Like you said, had they ran the ball, they wouldn't have had enough time. The way they moved down the field on the Eagles defense, they would have had plenty of time. Remember, when they scored, the Eagles actually had time to come back and try to match up. So there was plenty of time because the defense was offering no resistance. So if you want to place blame, sure. Saquon, like I said, he was accountable for his drop, but you got to look at the defensive coordinator. You got to look at the defenders. I mean, they had controlled Atlanta's offense for the most part of the game. And Kirk Cousins, that last drive, looked like Joe Montana. So I think there's plenty of blame to go around, but I don't think you can blame Nick Sirianni for those circumstances. Sometimes when we go players make plays, sometimes players don't make plays. And I think that's what happened to the Eagles.
The other thing I'm not going to listen to this morning, Mo, is I'm not going to listen to anyone, whether you are an Eagles fan or not, that is going to try to sit here and tell me that Jalen Hurts didn't play well last night. I thought Jalen Hurts played great football last night. Now, if you look at the stats, you're going to walk away from the stats and be like, he was all right. I mean, you didn't watch the game, because I watched the game and I saw Jalen Hurts run the ball several times. I saw him run the ball with confidence. I saw him run the ball in situations where I felt he should have ran the ball. He had that one like 11 or 12 yard run on third down. That was a first down. He spiked the ball. The guy never shows emotion. He was showing emotion last night. I thought he read the defense well last night. I thought he did a lot of great things last night. Oh, by the way, on a night where there was no A.J. Brown.
Correct.
So he didn't even have his best weapon available to him last night, and he didn't necessarily miss a beat. So I'm also not going to sit here this morning and listen to anyone that wants to slander Jalen Hurts and say things like, he didn't play well. He could have played. He did everything he was supposed to do. It's not his fault. His guy dropped the football, and then his defense just didn't play on the other end. Speaking of that defense, Mo, you're looking now. I think as a unit, they played a lot better last night than they did in the Green Bay game. But you look at situational football, and there were moments in that game, particularly on that game-winning drive, 6 plays, 70-something yards, something crazy like that, where that defense couldn't stop anything in the back end. And there were several times in the Green Bay game where I was like, Jordan Love ain't that good. I'm sorry, guys. He's just lofting it up there to literally college wide open players running through that Philadelphia Eagles secondary. He ain't that good. And we saw some of that on that final drive, Mo, where you were just like, who's doing what right now? Because they all open.
They couldn't get no pass rush.
It was
no pass rush.
Yeah, on Madden.
Why I hate that defense so much.
Why does it exist? It doesn't stop anything.
I hate that defense so much. It's one of those things where it's like let them catch everything in front of you. But you're supposed to let them catch stuff that's like 10 yards downfield, not 30 and 40. I mean, they're getting chunk gains in a prevent. That's not how prevent's supposed to work. Like it was just a lack of execution on both sides of the football. Like I said, the Saquon thing, 9 times out of 10, he's going to catch that ball. That's not a bad call. If he catches the football, he turns it up, he's going to get the first down. Although, to your point, if they had ran the football, let's say Atlanta stops them, yes, maybe they would have ran down way more clock for them to come back on a drive. But I don't even know if they stop them. I was thinking they were going to run the football that down because Saquon had ran it up the gut for 5 or 6 yards a couple times in chunks. Why wouldn't he be able to do it again?
Penalties killed the Eagles last night. I think there was only 9 accepted penalties on them, but there were a handful that were declined as well. Particularly, I think they had 3 or 4 illegal men downfield. And this is something we're seeing called more and more across the NFL early this season and late last season. And guys got to it's not just the Eagles, guys got to get a hold on this. The big men got to stay inside their box. And I get it. Like sometimes, if it's a broken play and it's supposed to be, one thing and it turns into something else and they're going down because they were supposed to be down there, but now the play, like, I get that stuff. But Mo, it's just something that we're seeing more and more across the board. And usually what happens is it negates a big play. You don't usually see it on a little 3-yard out route where you're like, whatever. It's usually bringing back a chunk play. So teams got to figure out what to do in that situation and stop having the big boys get downfield.
You're also seeing a lot of illegal hand to the face calls
Mm-hmm.
early in the year. Like, uh, I get it; it's war in the trenches and stuff. But anytime you go to the head, you got to know automatically that's going to garner you a flag. And these are veteran players, not all rookies. These are veteran players making that mistake. The Eagles, their veteran end made that mistake late in the game. He went to the face of an Atlanta offensive lineman. That kind of stuff, like you said, it impacts games and it can cost you games. I thought the game was actually a pretty good game, aside from some of the calls, but I thought it was a good game. I thought Kirk Cousins looked pretty good throughout the game. I thought Bijan Robinson showed you what he could be. Saquon did throughout the game as well. I was impressed with Jalen Hurts because he was operating without AJ Brown, which means that Atlanta defense could focus in on Smith and Goddard. And the Eagles were able to move the football. Sometimes they didn't sustain drives, but I thought they played a solid game. Like everything was set up, Chris, for them to win that football game. And you make a call. It literally is a game of inches. Saquon hauls that in, you win the game. He doesn't, and I don't think you lose the game because he doesn't. Like everybody's saying, because he missed it, that's why we lost. No, that hurt. But your defense, you're still ahead. Hey guys, let's stop them. It really, like, you know what I mean. Let's make them. They have to get a touchdown, right? You don't let them get a touchdown. And
Right.
yet Atlanta just marches down the field, and it's like boom, 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 like they march down the field. It was that quick. And the way they moved the ball down the field, I felt like Philly was playing like they had a 14-point lead. I just didn't understand that. And I think Eagles Nation, you have every right to be frustrated, but I don't think you should point the fingers at Jalen Hurts or Saquon Barkley.
Mo, this is gonna sound a little hyperbolic and a little ironic all at the same time. But chaos in Carolina
Okay.
as the Panthers are benching Bryce Young in favor of Andy Dalton coming into their week 3 matchup. I believe they're playing the Raiders. I don't have it in front of me though. But yeah, they are playing the Raiders. This comes after Carolina Panthers head coach confirmed on Sunday that Bryce Young would be the starter against the Raiders. And then it was announced yesterday after he watched more film. Okay. That Bryce Young will not be this. Like, what does that look like? We know he's bad, but we didn't know he was that bad. Like, when we put it in slow motion, we were like, "Oh my God, he's not, come on now." Someone above, I think someone above him made the call. He says it was his call. I don't know. I mean, I like Andy Dalton as much as the next guy does, but what are we doing, Mo? Are we going to see that huge of a difference with? They might score a touchdown. That could be okay. That their defense isn't going to play any. Their defense still sucks. The defense isn't going to magically get better because Andy Dalton's out there. They might run, their drives might, instead of being 3 and out, might be like, 5 and out, 6 and out. Like, I just, what are we doing? He started 16 games, I believe. He hasn't been good, but at the same time, this team isn't good. He doesn't have talent around him. He doesn't have an offensive line. He doesn't have a defense. I know it's so easy to look at his numbers are bad. They really are. But you look at his number. Let's not forget, Baker was on this team not that long ago. And he didn't find success because the team is bad. It's not a good team. And then Baker goes to the Rams and starts a game 8 hours later without practicing a single play, and he wins it in prime time. And then he goes to Tampa Bay year 1 and wins a division. And now he's got his team 2-0 in year 2. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. Like, I'm not saying Bryce Young was going to be what Andrew Luck was. I'm not saying Bryce Young is Joe Burrow. I'm not saying Bryce Young is Josh Allen. But I'm saying if you take a mediocre quarterback, which I think he could be a middle-of-the-road quarterback, and you put him with nothing around him, Mo, what the hell you think is going to happen down there? I mean, I don't know what Patrick Mahomes could do on that team because there's not a lot of playmakers on either side of the football. So I don't know what you want Bryce Young to do. I don't know how you thought this was going to help his development, throwing him in there. I mean, it is what it is, but to bench the kid, and I think he is the first first round quarterback, Mo, ever taken to be benched in their second season if it wasn't injury related. I believe it's the first that's happened this early in their career. I don't know what we're doing. Are you done with him at this? Like, are we trading him at this point?
Right.
Like, what are we doing? Because you saw what this did to Tua down in Miami with Brian Flores. It took him seasons to start to build his confidence back, and a whole new head coach after he went through all his benchings. Is that what we're doing? We're going to bench him for a few games. You're going to get railroaded still because your team is awful. Dalton's going to get hurt because he's not as mobile as Bryce Young is. And then what are we going to do? Then we're going to go back to the kid. What is the plan here? Is there not a plan, Mo? Is that what it is? We're just caution to the wind. We don't like what we're doing. Let's just change the quarterback because that fixes everything.
I'm going to use the words of a wise man. I think they have a concept of a plan.
Well, you see, that's the thing.
I thought you liked that.
We talked about this. They have a plan, and it's their plan. It's not specific to. And now we're going to see, because literally what we heard this summer was their offense is built for what they want it to be,
right?
Not for their quarterback skill set,
right? Not tailored to a skill set. This is what we're going to run. You run it, young man. We're not going to play to your strengths at all. This is and this will work.
Maybe it will work better for Dalton.
Look, I think if you want to say he's been failed by his coaches, he's been failed by the organization. And I'm talking about Bryce Young. They're a horrible organization from top to bottom. And yeah, he's looked bad. He's looked like a deer in the headlights. I would argue, though, the guy's suffering from trauma from the beating he's taken. I mentioned it yesterday. He looks like David Carr years later, taking that beating. And I think the beating, the criticism, the frustration, I think that wears on you, not just physically, but mentally. I think Bryce Young has the talent to be a good quarterback in this league. I'm not saying great, but a good quarterback. But if you don't set him up for success, if you don't build an offense around what he does best, then what are you doing? Like, I get it. They're bringing in Andy Dalton, and there's no doubt in my mind, whatever you think of Andy Dalton right now today, he's absolutely a better quarterback than Bryce Young. He is, flat out. He's a better quarterback. But Andy Dalton's going to take a beating too, and they're going to still lose with Andy Dalton. So, if anything, I guess the benefit for Bryce Young is he gets a week reprieve from getting beat down. Let Andy Dalton, the veteran, take some of those beatings. But what won't change is they're not getting any W's. Not with that team, not the way they're constructed, not with that organization. That owner, the general manager, those coaches, they've done nothing for Bryce Young but set him up for failure.
We got some injury news across the league, Mo, and it's not good for some teams. Kansas City Chiefs, Isaiah Pacheco fractured his fibula. He is going to undergo surgery this week. He is obviously going to miss an extended period of time with that injury. We just talked about A.J. Brown. He's going to miss a couple of weeks with his hamstring injury. Defensive end for the Jets, Jermaine Johnson. He is out for the season after suffering a torn Achilles. Not good for their defense, which hasn't been bad. I'm not saying the Jets defense has been bad. But I am going to say the Jets defense hasn't been what we thought it was going to be out of the gate, which is a top 3 defense in the league, especially at a time, Mo, where other defenses are absolutely shining early in the season, and offense seems to be down a little bit across the league. The Jets defense did not need to lose Jermaine Johnson for the entire season. There is no IR update on Tua Tagovailoa. Mike McDaniel said that he does not have enough information currently, nor has Tua gotten enough information as to whether or not he is going to go on IR. Remember, if he goes on IR, he is going to miss 4 weeks. So if he doesn't go on IR, then the speculation would obviously be he's going to come back sooner than that. If he goes on IR, the speculation is going to be that he's not going to come back sooner than that. But with Tua going down and working through his concussion, the Dolphins have signed Pro Bowl quarterback Mr. Huntley. Let's go. Let's go, Mo.
Dolphins Nation. Let's do it.
Let's do it. He's not starting, though. He's the backup to,
He is.
Skylar Thompson. So it's all good. It's all good.
So I think they watered down the playbook. Obviously, you know that. But I think that they're still going to work the middle and the short area of the field to get Tyreek those catch and run opportunities, right? You're still going to look to get Waddle and Tyreek the opportunity to turn a 6-yard pass into a 60-yard pass.
And you got to run the ball.
And you got to run the ball.
Run the ball.
You do have a solid offensive line, and you've got some talented running backs that they're kind of like your receivers. They're home run hitters. So I say lean on the run and make the pass a complement to the run. I think it don't have to be beautiful. Just win football games.
I think we got the Seahawks, the Patriots. I think the Colts are in there. It's nothing crazy. It's not. We got some manageable games. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I think if you have the Seahawks and who was it? I'm
gonna pull it up. Let's talk. Let's not speculate. Let's talk actual.
Let's get into
Let's talk actual schedules over here. We'll pull up the Dolphins schedule. They got the Seahawks this week. I mean, on paper, I think the Seahawks should probably beat us. But you never know. But this week it's the Seahawks, and the Dolphins got the Titans, the Patriots, and the Colts. So, I mean, with Tua, I'm seeing like 3 out of 4 wins right there at least. Without Tua, I think they can split those games.
You read my mind, partner. I think, look, the goal is obviously to win all the games, but if you can go 2-2 and then Tua comes back, that's terrific. Yeah, that's terrific.
That's money right there, I feel. That's money going into the Arizona game. And then we got to play the goddamn Bills again after that. God, I hate Josh Allen.
You know what? Some teams just have other teams' numbers. For whatever reason, it seems like the Bills have had the Dolphins' number.
6 years and counting. Also on the injury front, Cooper Kupp has an ankle injury. He is going to miss an extended period of time. Extended period of time is what he is going to be missing, according to Sean McVay. Wide receiver Deebo Samuel, he has a calf injury. He is also going to miss multiple weeks. So, Mo, you're looking at A.J. Brown, Deebo Samuel, Cooper Kupp, Tua Tagovailoa, defensive end Jermaine Johnson, Pacheco for the Chiefs. Those are some big names right there.
They are. And let's not forget, with Johnson going down, doesn't Hassan Reddick look even more important to the Jets? Like,
well, that's what he's thinking.
I'm sure him and his representatives are like, come on, you need us. And look, even before Johnson went down, the Jets defense had been good, but it hadn't been dominant. It was dominant last season. I thought they were more bend or break up until this point. And they don't have a lot of depth across the board. I think they desperately need Hassan Reddick. Look, those are some big names overall. With Deebo, big, powerful guy, but it's always some kind of nagging injury that kind of like makes him miss a few games. I don't think the Niners' problem is their offense. I just think that the defense hasn't been nearly as good so far. I think they'll pick it up. I watched the game, and the thing about Bosa is he's terrific in the first half. Like, he looks like the best player in football, but he doesn't his motor, he doesn't sustain that over a game. He just seems to kind of fade away late in games when you need him most. If the Niners don't get a pass rush, any kind of pass rush with their front forward and have to bring extra pressure, you're counting on a secondary that I think they struggle in man-to-man coverage, and you don't want them in man-to-man coverage. So I think ultimately with these big names being out, you'd rather them be out early than later. And so far, the only one I think is Johnson. That's a season-ending injury. So I think the Rams will pick it up. They still have Puka. The frustration with the Rams is this. It isn't that they haven't played well. It's that when it comes to injuries, no team has worse luck than the Rams. I mean, both their left tackles go down. They're in the third guy. Cooper Kupp's already injured. They've already lost a couple of defensive players as well. Like, I still think the Rams are the scariest team in that division. I know they're 0-2, but I've learned from you, don't count the Rams out being 0. Don't say the season's over. I am not doing it because I've seen that team go on 6-7 straight wins in a row. I still think the Rams are in it. I know the Seahawks are 2-0 right now, but we don't judge teams on the start. We judge them on the finish. I still think the Rams are the scariest team or the biggest threat to the Niners in that division.
Mo, we're so used to nothing coming out of the New England franchise, right? So used to it. We hear snippety Bill Belichick comments, and that's all that comes out of New England. Well, there's a new regime in New England now, and people are talking. And one of the people who is talking is wide receiver for the New England Patriots, Demario Douglas. He voiced his frustration yesterday, Mo, because he has not seen the ball much early on this season. And then starting quarterback for the Patriots, Jacoby Brissett, was asked about it during a weekly radio interview. And Jacoby's response was, I'm glad he's frustrated. If he wasn't, that would be alarming. That him not getting the ball, to be honest to you, you just explain it to him. You're going to have those games where it happens like that. It's also the second game of the year. We're still trying to figure out our identity and how this thing is going to play out as far as the offense goes. It's a long season ahead. I told him, man, there's 15 games left. A lot of football ahead of us. We're still getting better as a whole, individually as an offense. I'm glad he's frustrated, but I'll see how he uses the frustration the right way. Jacoby's been around the block. Jacoby, that was a perfect response from Jacoby Brissett, who is currently your franchise quarterback until Drake May is ready for it. But Demario Douglas, what are we doing? This team was projected to suck. This team might still suck. Y'all had an impressive victory, and you almost pulled off a second impressive victory. Yeah. You're almost 2-0, but you're at 1-1 right now. Everyone thought you were going to be 0-2 at this point. What are we doing? You got Jacoby Brissett in there, who most people think at the 3-quarter mark of the season, if not halfway through, is going to be benched for Drake May, just so they can start getting the rookie some playing time.
No doubt.
I don't know what offense you're running over there, but it's probably going to change once Drake gets in there. It's going to look a little bit different when you put Drake May's skill set on whatever you're running over there. Like, you're 2 games in. What are we doing? And by the way, you're Demario Douglas. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Right.
Who are you? Because outside of a Patriot fan or someone that plays the Patriots twice a season, most people probably don't even know who you are.
Couldn't recognize them in a lineup.
Simmer down, young man. Simmer down.
And remember, Gerard Mayo is about winning any way he can. He knows how much talent he has or doesn't have on the offensive side of the football. I can already tell you what the Patriots' identity is. They're a power running team. They're going to run the football a lot. If Stevens can hold up, he's going to be a 1,400 yard back. They're going to run the football. If you're a wide receiver on the Patriots, I can tell you right now, you ain't going to have no 1,000-yard receiving season. That's not how they play. Not currently. They're going to play to their strengths, and their strength is running the football and being opportunistic on defense. So I get it. If you're a wide receiver and you're like, I started the game with a clean jersey and I still got a clean jersey, kind of get used to that. Unless you become a really good run blocking wide receiver, then you might get dirty a little bit. But you're not going to get a lot of balls thrown to you in New England this season. 1, because they don't have the talent, and 2, Gerard Mayo's just trying to win. He's not concerned with numbers. He's just trying to win.
We had a question down there in the chat about the Vikings and Sam Darnold and whether or not we think they can keep up their current pace. Here's the issue with the Vikings, and this is not a shot at Darnold. This is not a shot at the team. Mo, it's just the reality of the situation. Their opening schedule is absolutely brutal. And I know that they navigated the 49ers, but look at their next set of games. They are home for the Texans. They go to Green Bay. They're home for the Jets. They're home for the Lions. They go to the Rams, who will probably have Cooper Kupp back at that time. Like, that is a hard stretch of games right there. Texans, Packers, Jets, Lions, Rams. If you told me they lose all 5 of those, I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked. If you told me they won, I guess if you told me if they won all 5, I'd be a little surprised because there's some good teams in there. But you're literally looking at the Lions are a favorite of some to go to the NFC Championship game. The Packers are a favorite of some to go to the NFC Championship game. The Texans and Jets are favorites to go to the AFC Championship game. The Rams are a favorite to make the playoffs. That is a murderer's row right there, coming off of a win against the San Francisco 49ers, which, let's keep in perspective, right? Let's keep in perspective. It was a good win, but I don't think they're better than the 49ers. So do I think the Vikings can be a competitive team? Yeah, I think they can be competitive. Do I think that, they're going to go 3-2 or 4-1 over this stretch? I don't think so, Mo.
Normally I would agree with you, but is Jordan Love going to be playing that game? Because I think
it's fair. Because if it's Malik Willis, we talking a different team.
Yeah, I don't think you can get away with running that watered down offense continuously. So if Malik Willis is playing, I see an opportunity to win there. I'm looking at the Rams. They're kind of beat up and dinged up. If you're going to play the Rams early, this is the best time. I think those are potentially 2 wins. I can see them winning 3 of these games because it might just come down to who has the best quarterback play. And as good as the Texans have looked early, they were kind of vulnerable in the game the other day when they won. The Sunday night game, the offense kind of it sputtered more than anything. So I think that as good as Stroud is, and I think he's the real deal, teams are adjusting to him. They're making him read more coverage than before. I don't want to sound crazy, but what we love about sports is a great story. Look, if Sam Darnold can keep this rolling, if this offense can keep doing what it's been doing, it makes for a great story. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say they win at least 3 of those games.
And then Dustin's follow-up question was, let's say the Vikings make the playoffs. Does McCarthy sit another year behind Sam Darnold?
Well, if they make the playoffs and Sam Darnold has a Pro Bowlish type of season, I think McCarthy has to sit behind him, right? Unless for whatever reason they don't want to bring Sam Darnold back. You kind of got to give Sam Darnold credit. If he plays that well to get them into the playoffs, A, and then B, has a Pro Bowl type season, I think he has to go into the next season as the starter. I think McCarthy's got to take the job back from him. That's how I see it. I get it. McCarthy's your quarterback of the future. Well, guess what? A lot of quarterbacks of the future, they had to sit a couple of years. Maybe he has to sit another year. Nothing wrong with that.
And that's the thing. I mean, it's a great question to ask because if you're coming off a playoff appearance in a season where you were not predicted to have a winning record, much less make the playoffs, and you got the rookie quarterback who hasn't played coming off of a huge injury, that's tough. That's tough. So I think they would roll with Darnold for another season. And obviously, if things went downhill season 2 with Darnold, you got JJ ready to go. Right. But and you know how they can spin it. You know how he's coming off the injury, bringing him back. So you know what they're gonna do, Mo. If that's the case, they're gonna spin it. He's just biding his time. All that stuff.
We're not gonna rush him back. We're not gonna rush him back.
So we know what that looks like. Dustin, great question down there in the chat. Mo, we had a couple more games from yesterday that we didn't get a chance to go over. Let's do that right now. The Arizona Cardinals put it on the Los Angeles Rams. The entire Rams team is injured right now. Their offensive line doesn't exist. They've lost their 2 biggest playmakers at wide receiver. Matt Stafford was under all sorts of duress in that game, and he's going to find himself injured soon as well if they can't better protect him, because he was under way too much fire against the Arizona Cardinals. Speaking of the Arizona Cardinals, though, Marvin Harrison Jr., he had a nice game. Kyler Murray hit a couple of great passes early on in that one. The Cardinals are 1-1. I still don't think the Cardinals are a playoff team, but I think they're going to be a competitive out the majority of the season. I think that at times they're going to pop. I think that they're a matchup nightmare for some teams because of what Kyler can do off script. Right. But at the same time, I think that Kyler is still going to be, mistake prone. I still don't think they have enough firepower on offense. And I think their defense is average at best. And that's why they won't be a playoff team, Mo. But it doesn't mean they can't be a competitive football team, which is what I think they're going to be this season.
I agree. I think the Cardinals are going to be the kind of team that they're going to spoil another team's season, right? A team that might need a win late in the year. I think the Cardinals are the type of team that they're going to be a spoiler. I'm with you. I don't think they have enough balance offensively. You need another playmaker on the outside, and I think you need a more consistent run game because, look, a young quarterback, and Kyler is still a young quarterback. His best friend is a strong run game and a good tight end, and right now that's something they don't really have.
The Pittsburgh Steelers moved to 2-0. Mo, I don't know. I don't know what's in the water in Pittsburgh. I'm running out of words.
Smoke and mirrors.
Is that not what it is?
Smoke and mirrors.
I feel like we are watching the same exact Pittsburgh Steeler team from last year, where you're sitting here and you're like, how are they winning football games? Because we know they have a great defense. They always have a great defense. We are not surprised by their defense. They win an ugly game against the Atlanta Falcons 18-10, and then they roll into Denver and they win 13-6. Once again, the defense led the way. Bo Nix is awful right now, by the way. Jesus. I mean, all those people who sat here and wanted to tell me coming out of the preseason that Bo Nix was going to walk into the NFL and he was going to be good to go. I'm not saying he won't be good to go at some point. He is a rookie quarterback. Let's be fair to him. But everyone who was like, oh, no, he's ready. He is not ready. Bo Nix, 20 for 35, 246, 2 more interceptions. And, turnovers in a game that is this close. The Broncos didn't even get on the board until the fourth quarter. They were down 13-0 going into the fourth quarter. This offense for Denver did nothing for the majority of the game, and they got a couple of field goals in the fourth quarter. Mo, I mean, I know Russ is laughing somewhere inside. I know he is, because remember, he was the issue. He was the issue in Denver. He was the problem. He was the one that had to leave for this Sean Payton Denver Broncos thing to get off the ground. And here are the Denver Broncos, Mo, 0-2. And I think there's a fair argument to be made that Denver might be the worst team in the league.
They're going to have a shot at it. It's going to be between them, the Panthers, and I want to say the Giants. But I think they've got a shot at it. I know Russell Wilson is smiling somewhere, even though he's not starting for the Steelers. Of course, he wouldn't be human if he weren't smiling. And I know there's a part of him that's like, man, I wish I could start this week because I believe the Steelers play the Broncos. That would be a great revenge game, but I think Mike Tomlin is of the thought process that we're 2-0 with Fields. I think he rides Justin Fields until they hit a rough spot, if they hit a rough spot. And then Russ will get an opportunity. And if Russ blows that opportunity, Fields will be inserted back in. And I think that'll be the end of Russell Wilson as a starting quarterback.
Now, give Justin Fields credit where credit is due. He played a great first half. His first half included 2 scoring drives. He had a 78-yard touchdown drive. But in the second half of the game, he had 16 total yards passing. I think he only threw the ball 8 times in the second half of the game, but those 8 pass attempts netted 16 total yards. He finished the day with 117 yards passing and 1 touchdown. Mo, you're winning. We said this so many times last year at the Pittsburgh Steelers. You can't just sit here and look at the numbers of the quarterback play. They're finding ways to win. Throw it out the window. As long as they keep winning, they're going to keep winning. But Mo, we're smart enough to understand this is not sustainable. This type of production and this type of output from your quarterback is not sustainable. They got the Chargers coming in this week. By the way, the Chargers defense has beaten up on bad offenses, and the Pittsburgh Steelers have a bad offense. This might be, and it might be a 10-7 game. It might be a 7. There's not going to be a lot of points in this game, Mo. This is going to be a defensive fan's dream come true, because I don't think we're going to see a lot of points. It's not going to be high scoring. But once they start playing better defenses, I think the Steelers are going to struggle. After this, they got the Colts, but then the Cowboys have a good defense unless you're playing the Saints. The Raiders have a decent defense. The Jets have a good defense. You're going to start playing some teams with good defenses. And then let's not forget the stretch of games that this team has to end the season. Ravens, Browns, Bengals, Browns, Eagles, Ravens, Steelers, Chiefs, Bengals. The last 8 games of the season, you better have figured out your quarterback situation, because the team that we are looking at right now, the only games they have a chance of winning in those final 8 are against the Bengals. And if the Bengals play like they did against the Chiefs this weekend and not like they did against the Patriots, they're not beating them either. So they need to figure something out. And I don't know if it's Fields. I don't know if it's Russ. My gut tells me it's neither of them, that neither of them are going to be their long-term solution at quarterback. But they got to figure out something offensively to put up more points on the board, because look at what happened with the Browns last year. Their defense were world beaters the first 7-8 games of the season. And then it wears on you. It wears on you when you're not getting consistent quarterback play. It wears on you when you're on the field more than you should be. And I think the Steelers have a better defense than the Browns do. I really do. But this is not sustainable for your defense when you need them to put up this kind of effort week after week after week over an 18-week NFL schedule.
They don't have an offensive identity. That's the bigger thing. Like, what do you do well offensively? Coming into the season, you thought it was going to be the run game, but the run game really has been slow to develop this season. You're right. They don't have to be a great offense, but you have to be an efficient or an effective offense. And right now, the smoke and mirrors thing, I don't think that is sustainable over this schedule. They're going to have to find a way to generate points. I don't care if Justin Fields has to make like Michael Vick and call a 9 route and then take off right after the defenders clear out, and he rushes for damn near 1,000 yards this season. If that's the way they can score or sustain drives, and that's the way they can score or sustain drives. Right now, they're sitting pretty, but like you said, what happens when you get to the meat of that schedule? In that division, if you don't have competent quarterback play that can at least sustain drives and get you points when needed, you're going to lose. You're going to lose. And within look at the Ravens. The Ravens are 0-2. So now you got an angry team. I think the Bengals feel a little bit upset about their start. Look, Mike Tomlin is a genie. We keep talking about how does he do this? You're looking at the numbers and you're going, you won a football game where your quarterback threw for 117 yards? That's crazy. Like, tell me you did that because your running game rushed for almost 200 yards, which they didn't. Yeah. That's crazy. But like you said, when you start playing better offenses, one, that challenges your defense more. But if your defense gets challenged and the other offense could put up 17 points right now, I don't think the Steelers can generate 17 points of offense.
Well, there's currently 2 teams in the NFL that have combined to allow less than 20 points their first 2 games of the season. That is the Chargers and the Steelers. The Chargers have allowed 13 points, 13 points after their first 2 games, and the Steelers have allowed 16. I don't know if either of those teams gets to 16 points this weekend when they play each other. I'm just saying, I think
First
you're
to
going to
10.
see a 13-10, a 10,
Yeah.
10-6, 10-7. I think that's what we're going to see for a score. So again, if you're a defensive guru, you're going to love it. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Cincinnati Bengals. Mo, did you know that since the 2018 season, Patrick Mahomes has the most interceptions called back by penalty than any other quarterback in the league?
That's a crazy stat, and I did not know that.
I believe he has 18 interceptions since 2018. That's 6 seasons. So that's about what, 3 a season? 3 a season are called back by penalty on average. And that is what took place against the Bengals. Call it what you will. I mean, the Bengals on paper shouldn't have won this game. They're in disarray right now. You got Jamar Chase taking out a $50 million personal insurance policy on himself in case he gets in. Like, it's nonsense across the board on this team. Man, I haven't seen a player kind of go from like, I wouldn't say Jamar Chase was revered in the NFL, but he was easily referred to as a top 3 or 4 wide receiver in the league.
Great.
And then I don't think anyone really had a personality opinion of him because he didn't really do anything except for go play football. But man, these first couple weeks of the season, he has not come out of this smelling like roses. He had the issue with the officials this week where apparently he said something so egregious to them that it resulted in the penalty. And then he's got the whole personal insurance policy thing. He's saying he feels disrespected by the team because of their negotiating and their contract offers. Just play football, my guy. Like, I get it. Like, should the Bengals have already wrapped? Yeah, they should have. But at the same time, like, this is not helping Jamar. It's not helping. Then you got the whole T. Higgins situation. He's not playing yet.
Right.
They don't really have a third wide receiver. I don't know what's going on with Joe Burrow's hair. What is he doing? Like, insanity on that team, Mo. Insanity right now.
They seem to be in disarray. And I'm looking at a guy like Chase, and I'm like, dude, you still got 2 years on your deal.
Right.
I know you want to be paid up there with your peers, but they all made their negotiations in their lame duck season. You're another year away. You just be a professional and play it out, man. And look, if the Bengals are a subpar 500 team this season, as this season plays out, if I'm management, I'm not inclined to give you a big deal. You know what I mean? Like,
No.
I'm not. Why would I be motivated by that if you're going to have a season where you don't even have 1,000 yards receiving and you have a subpar year? I just think that right now, a couple of years ago when they went on their Super Bowl run, it seemed like a team that was just together on both sides of the football. And we were talking about how Joe Burrow, as talented as he was, as young as he was a good leader as well. Right now, it looks like a team that's lacking leadership and a team that's lacking direction.
Let's talk about the Chicago Bears and the Houston Texans. We left week 1 of Chicago looking at Caleb Williams and saying, okay, he didn't throw for 100 yards. He did some cool things with his legs. You saw the athleticism. But I think he left a little bit on the table as far as what you thought you were going to see just from the pure quarterbacking position, being a thrower of the football. So we go to week number 2. They got the Houston Texans. Obviously, that is a favorite to go to the AFC Championship this year. So it's a good team that they're playing against. It's a good defense that they're playing against. But the Texans, I would argue, didn't play their best game. They win 19-13. But you look at Caleb's performance, and again, I walk away, Mo, and I'm like, okay. He had 44 yards rushing on 5 carries. Athleticism is there. He went 23 for 37. Once again, struggling to even complete 50% of his passes. He was over the mark here, but not the accuracy you want to see. 174 yards, 2 brutal turnovers. And you're looking at it, and I get it. He's a rookie quarterback. He's going to have his bumps. It is what it is. But Mo, I mean, he came in with all the fanfare of what? A Trevor Lawrence, an Andrew Luck. And I Andrew Luck is probably the exception to the rule. He was great out of the gate on terrible Indianapolis Colts teams. Trevor Lawrence was not great out of the gate, but Trevor Lawrence at moments looked like an elite quarterback in his rookie season. We haven't seen that yet from Caleb. In fact, we've seen the complete opposite from Caleb Williams early on here. I don't know. I mean, I think 2 games is not nearly enough time as far as to really understand what we're doing. Like I said, the Houston Texans are a far superior team than the Chicago Bears anyway. I didn't think the game was going to be this close. If you told me it was going to be a 6-point game, I might have told you the Bears won in an upset because I did not expect the game to be this close given how good the Houston Texans are and how poor the Chicago Bears looked week 1 in the season. Now, forecasting what we have coming up for the Bears, they have the Colts, the Rams, the Panthers, the Jaguars, and the Commanders coming up next. Those are better. Those are better opponents. You got a very injured Rams team. You have a Colts team that also has a quarterback that can't throw the football right now. The Panthers are absolutely terrible. The Jaguars are a dumpster fire. And the Commanders also have a rookie quarterback. So I think the next 5 games, Mo, we are really going to see what is Caleb Williams and where is this Chicago Bears team, because they're sitting at 1-1 right now after beating a team that doesn't have a good quarterback in Will Levis. And could they be, if they go 3-2 over this stretch, you're looking at a 4-3 team. That's not terrible at all if you're the Chicago Bears.
Not at all. And a lot of people have projected that they thought the Bears could make the playoffs. Remember that, Chris. A lot of people told us that. We weren't on that train. We're not on that train. I'm still not on that train. I think Caleb Williams has all the ability and the potential and the talent to be a franchise quarterback. But potential and talent isn't a default to that happening. I don't know what he is right now. Right now, I'm looking at all these rookie quarterbacks. They all look like rookies.
Yep.
Like nobody looks like, man, he looks like a 7-year veteran and he's got such command. None of them look that way. And of all the rookie quarterbacks, nobody is set up to succeed more than him. When you talk about all the weapons that he has around him, he has talent all over the board around him, and they have trouble moving the football. And a lot of that is he's struggling and recognizing coverages. He's also waiting to receivers to get open versus throwing them open. Again, that's a common rookie mistake. Right now, to me, he's a basic rookie. I don't think he's any better than Bo Nix is right now. I don't think he's any better than him. I would argue that the young man with the Commanders has been the best of the rookie quarterbacks to this point. So I think you're right. They have some games ahead of them that are winnable, but whether they win or not, I want to see how he plays because it's an opportunity for him to shine, for him to stand out. You can already tell the frustration. They're only 2 games in, and this guy's already talking about how am I supposed to put up numbers and I'm not getting the help that I need. Like he's already saying stuff like that. That's not good, bro. You're a rookie quarterback, and you've got talent across the board around you. Maybe it's you. Maybe you're just struggling, and there's nothing wrong with that because rookies learn on the fly. Some learn sitting on the bench behind a veteran, and some we throw out there right away, and it doesn't always work out. I don't know what Caleb Williams is. Everybody's told me what he's going to be. I'm still on the fence as what he's going to be because we don't know.
And Mo, I hope that they find some success in the first half of their schedule because here are their last 8 games. Packers, Vikings, Lions, Niners, Vikings, Lions, Seahawks, Packers.
Wow. That's a rough row. By the way, on a side note, at the pace he's on right now, Chris, he's not going to throw for 4. He's not going to throw for 4,000 yards either.
He might not throw for 2,500 yards. Yeah, he's on pace for like 2,300 right now.
Right. And look, we make jokes about this, right? In this current era of football, when a quarterback doesn't throw for 4,000 yards, we go, "What's wrong with you?" Right? If you don't throw for 4,000 yards in the current NFL, it must be because you're a dual threat guy who rushes for about 900 or almost 1,000 yards. That I can understand. But to not throw for 3,000 yards, that's insanity in this era of football. Like, you must have missed 5 games. No, I played all 17 games, and you only threw for 3,000. What are you doing? What do we do? Are we doing those little 4-yard Alex Smith's dump down passes? Like, what are we doing? I'm not rooting against the kid. I always root for rookies because I always think you want the league to have their next wave of stars, their next wave of quarterback stars, wide receiver stars, whoever. You want that next wave to be etched in stone. I just think he's struggling. And I know all the people that said this is going to be the first time we have a 4,000-yard quarterback. I don't think that's a lock at all. I right now I'm going to say he doesn't hit that mark.
Yeah, I don't think he hits that mark. We forgot to mention Christian McCaffrey earlier with the injuries.
Yeah.
He's going to miss at least the next 3 weeks. So him and Debo out for the 49ers. But I think the 49ers have depth. I'm not too concerned about the Niners. How about you, Mo?
No, if you look at the young man Mason, physical, one-cut running back, he played well the other night. He played well the other game against the Vikings. I would argue that I wondered why they didn't let him carry the ball even more. Like, I think sometimes Shanahan can be guilty of being too cute when sometimes it's really as simple as getting in formation, 2 tight end sets, and just running the football down the other team's throat instead of trying to out-trick them or be clever. I'm not worried about their depth. This team has tons of talent on both sides of the football. If they have no excuses. Debo's going to miss time. Debo always misses time. As gifted as C-Mac is, he tends to miss 2 or 3 games a year too. I'm fine with that.
Well, before we get out of here this morning, I think to the surprise of many, Bill Belichick's kind of funny.
I didn't know that.
He's got some jokes.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised by Bill. I mean, it wasn't all great. I'm not going to sit here and be like, give me more Bill. But I didn't know what it was going to be for Monday Night Football. And I watched live and I saw a little bit of it. And I saw a couple of the highlight reel of the Bill Belichick moments with the Mannings. And I mean, the stuff with Eli and him still hating Eli and Nick Foles for what they did to him in the Super Bowls. I thought it was funny. I thought it was entertaining. I'm okay so far with this whole Bill Belichick thing.
Yeah, look, we thought that the breakout star in the booth was going to be Brady.
All right, and it might be Bill.
And who knows? It might be Bill. Bill is showing you that he's got some jokes. He can be a little bit funny. Now, there are times when he sounds a lot like Jim Harbaugh, and that's a little kooky.
Right.
But he might be a natural. He might have found his next career. So look, shout out to Coach Belichick, because I had no idea the guy had a sense of humor.
Mo, take us to the end on a Tuesday, sir.
Thank you guys so much for joining us this morning. Make sure you check out all the great content we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you.
Hey, make sure you're back here same time, same place tomorrow. We're going to have the NFL genius himself, Gene from Wire to Wire Sports, joining us tomorrow to break down everything that happened in week 2 of the NFL season. And we are going to preview week number 3. All of that and more. Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show.